We're live, guys. I've got myself in Bakersfield, Paul in Florida, and Jason coming to you live out of Omaha. You guys will see that I added a link today where you can come on and have your face shown up here alongside with ours. But I can only bring on one of you at a time. So if two or three of you click on, and you'll just be in the holding room until I bring you on, one at a time. Be nice though. Don't be nice. Don't get us bleeped off the YouTube. All right, or you can just comment like you usually do.
Don't talk like Paul. It'll be over.
Guys, also, yeah, there you go. Also, I just wanted to remind you, we got two Facebook pages. One's considered mine. It's called Iowa Hawkeye Sports on Facebook, and the other one is Jason's, called Everything Iowa Sports. We encourage you guys to go join those pages. There's a lot of good talk, got a lot of good information. I feel like we do some of the better stuff on our pages than some of the other pages do.
We're just more accurate than most, right?
Yeah.
Literally, we're the ones who had Iowa still winning. Dean, you were a little shaky, but Paul and I, we knew this was coming.
All right. Anyway, so we. Let me finish. Let me finish this. Okay. Smash the YouTube subscribe button. We're getting close to 200. I think we're only 2 or 3 away. So let's at least get to 200, and slowly start pushing our way toward 1,000. And share it with all your friends. When all your friends see it, maybe they'll subscribe too. The best talk, the best podcast for Hawkeyes on the radio, and the only ones who believe that Iowa could go 5-0 to finish the season after the Ohio State debacle, and we're one win away from getting that 5-0 record.
When can I jump in?
You can jump in now.
And I get my bet from the beginning of the year when I said Iowa would win 8 games. Literally, my bet has been on the ropes because Vegas had Iowa at 7.5. So I've been on the ropes, bobbing and weaving since the Ohio State game because there was no more losses for me to be had. So it's a big day Friday on all kinds of ways.
The only other thing I wanted to mention too about visiting our Facebook pages, the Everything Iowa Sports and Iowa Hawkeye Sports pages, we do actively monitor those pages for scams and spam and things like that. We are one of we're one of the few pages on there where we do have active admins. So it's friendly, it's informative, and we do our very best to monitor those pages and keep them spam and scam free. And that does separate us from some of the other pages that are out there.
Yeah.
There we go. Paul, should we talk about our sponsor? Let me bring her back up real quick.
I have a guy who's a moderator on my page on Everything Iowa Sports, Harvey Johnson, who takes care of all the spam. He is really good at it. He gets it and gets it out right away.
Well, apparently you had somebody attack one of your admin yesterday. It was quite the thread. I enjoyed reading it.
I missed it. You'll have to, after the show, you're going to have to lead me to that.
I will lead you to it at the end of the show.
That'll be interesting.
So as always, our show and our site and everything we do is brought to you guys through the help of our sponsor and one of our admins, Terry, and the link to her Sensi page is right here on the screen. We'll have it in the notes. You can definitely find it in a lot of different places. I love sharing her posts online, but what I love more than sharing her stuff is actually using it. The Sensi, again, probably not the most manly of things that we could try to sell or promote here, but that's how you know this stuff is actually good, right? Because we're manly men, we're dudes, and it's really off our radar to get waxes and different scents for the home, right? We usually have maybe a significant other in our life that's really their cup of tea, right? I guarantee you that significant other knows about Scentsy or knows about this kind of stuff, right? They're buying candles, they're buying waxes, they're buying these things. These things are going on in your home, fellas, right? They make great gifts. You have an opportunity to buy from another Hawkeye fan. Support us, support Terry, support her business. I encourage you, just check the link. You're going to be amazed. She's got special holiday Christmas packages. There's special pricing specials. There's a whole clearance section on the website. All three of us here on the video, we all actually use the stuff, right? So we all have warmers. We all have different scents. And the one I'm pushing today is called Jammy Time, because we're going to put Nebraska's season to sleep on Friday. So again, I encourage you, check it out. Check out the link.
Yeah, most men have a significant other that tells them if they smell or not. Like, dang, you smell. Jared, to go to you first, I'm going to say the whiskey win, because that was my only scare. Like I said 4 games ago, that whiskey was the only one I thought Iowa could lose. And it turned out we beat them pretty bad. And the mini game, it wasn't sweeter because I knew they would win, but how they won it, it was a shocker more than anything for me. I don't know about you guys, but the sweeter victory was the Wisconsin win, because that one just felt like the toughest one left for me.
For me, it was the Minnesota one, because out of the 5, that was the one that scared me the most. That was the one I thought had the potential to go south in a hurry. And, I still confuse how a running back can get 300 yards rushing on us and they don't score any more than 10 points. How'd that happen?
But we did it to them. Marcus Coker had 250 and we lost. In 2011, I think it was. Oh, maybe. Yeah, in 2011, Marcus Coker went for 250 and Iowa still lost. So, I mean,
for me, and maybe it's recency bias, right? But I think it's the Minnesota game. I mean, who hates Iowa, right? Their fans like to chant that. The deep-seated hatred, rivalry, playing for the pig, going up to their house, getting it done, tough weather conditions, cold, just old school kind of Big Ten football. And, when we needed it most, Spencer Petras comes up with a couple of just huge passes, the one to start the game to Laporta, and then the one to finish the game to Lachey. The offense didn't get much done against Wisconsin. The defense played outstanding in both games. For me, we needed this. As we're watching the end of that Illinois-Michigan game, and now we're kind of starting, Michigan winning there, at the last moment, and it made this Minnesota game even more important. So for me, it was the Minnesota game, winning on the road when it matters, meaningful November football, and it's a lot of fun to be playing meaningful November football.
Right.
Plus, we're now on a 14-game win streak.
Yeah. The only thing about that game that makes me, how good Mo is, right, is they're abusing him. I mean, is he going to be able to do much in the NFL? Like, how long is he going to be able to play? Running backs do have a lifespan, right? He had 14 carries on one drive. I was ready. I was ready for that fumble. On that drive, I was like, this ain't real. There is no way. And he fumbled on the 14th carry.
Right.
He has a history, a medical history of getting dinged up and injured and things like that. So now, I mean, literally, they're just going to run him till the wheels fall off, quite literally.
Literally, it's like they don't care about his future, in my opinion. And there's go ahead.
No, I was going to say PJ Fleck cares about his future, and it starts with Mo.
I mean, it's the silliest thing you'll ever see. I've seen it at the NFL level, and I've seen it in the national championship game. You guys remember when Auburn won the national championship? No, it was a game they lost in the national championship game. I think they lost to Florida State, maybe. But Auburn did the same thing, but that was like a one-game thing where Florida State could not stop their running back up the middle, right? He would get 3, 4, 5 yards, and he went to the NFL after that game. So they didn't abuse him all year. And Minnesota he's got games of 36, 39. I think he has multiple games of 39 carries now. So, I worry about Mo's future more than anything.
Yeah,
and I've been in an argument with somebody on my Facebook page. I don't know, argument, debate, whatever.
How about a good discussion?
A good discussion about it, because Mo was choosing between Iowa and Minnesota, and he chose Minnesota, and everybody's like, "Well, you made a great choice. He would never be able to do that at Iowa." I mean, he's averaging the same yards per carry as Caden is, as Goodson was, right? But he's just getting the crap beat out of him. You're right. He would have got his 1,000 yards because he's that good, but he wouldn't have got 800 carries.
But by the way, if we had that kind of production rushing the football, do you know how much better Spencer Petras and Brian Ferentz would look right now? Not because of the rushing numbers, but because of how Iowa's offense is designed off the play action and things like that. If you've got a guy going for 250, it's screaming for play action, right?
Right. Or if your running game, my point is, if your running game was right, they would never run a guy 35 times or whatever. It was my biggest fear for him was just the carries. And you're right. I remember he was just banged up last year. That's why he didn't play.
He was banged up this year. He missed some time this year.
You're right. He did. Yeah, he missed a couple. They lost those games. I think we know why. Right? Because they run him to death. Then that's pretty much all they have. They have the slant route and give it to Mo. I mean, what offense is that, really? Yeah. If we're being honest, what offense is that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know that, obviously their game plan was to control the clock and eat up the clock, and they didn't trust their freshman quarterback as much. But the one thing I think was that one of the reasons why they did that was because Iowa's elite defense works better when Minnesota or any other team would get in obvious passing situations and would actually pass the ball and make an attempt, Minnesota mostly chose to run the heck out of the ball, because this is the reason why we didn't get to the quarterback that much. But you notice that when we finally pushed Minnesota into a fact that they had to pass the ball to get downfield to at least get a game-tying field goal, they actually passed the ball and we got an interception out of the deal.
Right, but my point is it's not the game plan. It's just they have a good backup in Potts. Potts was getting yards too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was. But they didn't use him that much. It was like once every few plays,
Well, yeah, like once every 10 carries, right?
Yeah.
But every time he got a carry, he did pretty much the same thing as Mo. He didn't have those huge carries, but he also didn't have the holes that Mo had, right, when he did get those big carries. So, that's my thing is Mo should have probably had 25 where Potts could have had another 20.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure what he means, but Jared means on that question. Big plays defense, not the
Big
rest
10.
of the team.
Big 10 plays defense.
Oh, yeah. I get it. I get it now.
Why, he's right. After watching UCLA and USC, I was just I'm like, this isn't even football. Literally, nobody was covering anybody over the middle, like wide open. I'm like, this is like an all-star game. Like, what is this?
Yeah, you made a comment on your Facebook about that. How that they're going to have a rude awakening, and I had said that at the beginning once they announced it, and I go, these teams don't play defense out there. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they think when they get here and they try to outscore everybody, and the Big Ten is just burying them at the line of scrimmage.
You know, like in baseball, when you hit a home run, when you hear it off the bat, you just know. You're like, oh, that was so sweet. I love that noise, that sound. Same with the pads. When the pads hit to me, when there's a good, nice, solid hit and the pads, run together, I love that noise. When you watch a Pac-12 game, you don't hear that noise. Yep. I mean, you don't. It's silly.
They're going to be in for a rude awakening. I mean, yeah, they play half their games at home, but they're going to find that, wide open passing attacks, finesse football is not going to play in 0 degrees, 30-mile-an-hour winds in November in Minnesota and Iowa City and up in the, Michigans and those places, and I can tell you, look what they did when they brought in Nebraska and originally, if you guys remember, they put them on the tour. Literally, I mean, it was at Ohio State, at Michigan. It was show off your shiny new toy at Penn State. Yeah.
You know what? In those first couple of years that they were in the Big Ten, Nebraska still did okay.
Right, but don't think they're not going to do the same thing with USC, right? Shiny new toy. Welcome to the big house. Welcome to the horseshoe.
We're going to introduce you to the big boys.
Right.
Yeah. Jared, you're right. The passing was productive, right? If Regini could have found a way to pull that ball in, or if Petras just throws a better ball, that's a touchdown. Or there was no way that Regini was going to catch that ball and stay on his feet. That ball barely got off his fingertips, and he was reaching as high as he could. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He was going to fall regardless, running at full speed, trying to catch a ball up here. But if he could have just jumped up and caught it and fell down, that would have been a big play, just right where he was at. That was field goal range. Yeah. But if he throws it better, that's a touchdown.
I want to give Spencer some credit here on that because I know the TV announcers kind of they didn't kill him, but they said, well, he threw it too hard and too on the line. Weren't they there? I mean, the wind's whipping at 25 miles an hour. You can't just lob a ball that direction. The wind's going to take it where it's going to take it. So I think, and I don't know, I don't remember at that point if he was with the wind or against the wind, which direction they were headed. But
I don't remember either.
I mean, you can't just lob, if he could have put a little air under it and let Ragaini, just run under it. Yeah. Touchdown. Fine. But I think he's kind of battling the elements there a little bit and trying to throw the best pass he could, in the situation.
Well, it's interesting that, Jason said, and I remember the play, but I don't remember how it went, but the announcer said that Regani should have had that. He should have caught it, and he would have been in for a touchdown. But like Jason said, that if he'd have caught it, he would have been on the ground anyway. There's no way he could have kept running.
Yeah, the play-by-play guy, Jimmy Cricket. The play-by-play guy said it like he really doesn't, but the color guy explained it. What Paul was saying. The color guy knew exactly what it was. It was high and it was a lot of heat on that ball, right?
Right.
It was a high fastball, and those are so hard to catch, especially when you have cold hands. And Regini doesn't wear gloves. So, which I don't know why he doesn't wear gloves. That's interesting to me. But that would have hurt your hands as hard as he threw that ball. So that ball was it was just too high for Regini. Now, if Marvin Harrison Jr. would have caught it, right? But we don't have very few teams have a Marvin Harrison Jr. So Petras if that ball was just a foot lower, where it hits him like this or even hits him here, that's a touchdown. But it's over. Iowa won, but yeah, the passing game could have had 300 yards. And if Iowa's defense could have got off the field, I mean, they could have had a lot more passing yards, right?
Right.
I mean, Iowa's defense could not get off the field. Anybody who talks all that about Iowa's offense, but they couldn't get off the field at all, and it only took 2 downs to get a first down.
Yeah.
They only had 17 first downs, and they had, I want to say 7 third down conversions, right? I mean, Iowa only had 3 third down conversions, and they had 13 first downs. So, because Iowa was right there with them as far as first downs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just most of Iowa's first downs were in the first half, whereas most of Minnesota's were on those last 3 drives of the game that they had.
Well, right. You know what was interesting in a lot of cases for both teams, both teams came up with some big plays on the offense, big runs. Minnesota popped some big runs. We hit some big passes, and so what you would see on that, but then both the drives would stall after those big plays. The Laporta pass to start the game, 58 yards or whatever it was. Then the drive stalls out. For Minnesota, I remember 1 or 2 occasions where Ibrahim, he popped off a 40, 50-yard run that Cooper ran him out of bounds, but then their drive stalled after that. And so while both teams were kind of putting up decent offensive numbers, you didn't get a lot of first downs and things like that. More for Minnesota, but they were in a lot better third down situations than Iowa was.
Oh yeah, for real. Iowa would just once again would shoot themselves in the foot.
Oh.
Like Logan, he's just got to get. There was one. Was it last week? I think there was one that was on Petrus. It went right through his hands, like right here. Mm-hmm. But this one, Petrus had no shot. Right. So, I don't know. They need to get. They really got to get. But like what the announcer said, and it's true, which is what Linderbaum brought to the table that I don't think the coaches really understand. Well, Kirk has to. Obviously, he knows more than I do. But the fact that they're making Logan reach for guys right after the snap. The color guy even brought that up, and he's right on. I remember that you got to have skills like Linderbaum to be able to pull. He's got speed. Logan's quick enough to do all that. But in his mind, he's thinking, okay, I got to get here and snap this damn ball. How am I going to do that? So I think that's taken away from some of his snaps where he's focused too much on where he's got to go before he gets the ball to the quarterback.
True story.
Is that one of those things where, again, it's kind of a sports cliche, but the game hasn't slowed down for Logan yet?
Right. Yeah.
I think with more experience, he'll be as good as Linderbaum eventually.
I don't know if he'll ever be as good as Linderbaum because he's not. He doesn't have the flexibility. There's so many things that Linderbaum, and because Linderbaum was good right away, right? There really wasn't.
Yeah, but Merriweather is a great safety. He could play at Iowa for 10 years. He'll never be Bob Sanders.
Right.
You guys have to remember if Linderbaum, I think, had 1 year of backup center to learn the spot, what Logan Lee never did. They just threw him into the fire.
No. That's what he's going to get better.
Right.
I don't know if he'll ever be, Linderbaum good, but he's getting better. So I think he's thinking too much. Whereas the center also makes all the calls at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that the center does that Logan is learning. And I think that might take away from his snaps, right? He's still thinking his assignment type stuff and everybody's assignments and snapping the ball. And just sometimes he has a brain fart and his hand goes here and,
Right. And again, not to, how hard is it for Brian Ferentz or whoever the offensive coordinator is or would be to call plays and to get, Brian's an idiot. Well, when you're having these kinds of issues go on during the game, it doesn't matter what you call, what the play call is, and we don't know, but it's just one of those things that kind of drives me crazy, that when people say, oh, well, it's the play calling. Well, the play calling was pretty damn good on Saturday, I thought.
No, it was. I mean, it was spot on. It was spot on. The whole first half, it was spot on. The only reason they didn't score more was because of execution.
Mm-hmm.
That game should have been 13-0 or 17-0, right? I mean, there were some things that happened on Caden's long run. If only he just turned a little sooner. He didn't have to go take his momentum so far outside. He probably scored, right?
Right.
Well, on that drive, they had an easy field goal if they just ran it up the middle. Those play calls that nobody likes. Mm-hmm. But he tried to play action pass. What happened? He got sacked. Yeah. He tried to take advantage of that long run with the play action pass. And he was like, whoa. 911? All right. 911? Can I finish my thought?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were done. You took a breath. And I
was worried about you.
Yeah, we were concerned here.
Yeah. What I was saying was Brian tried taking advantage of that long run with the play action pass, but it feels to me this year that it's almost every play action pass we get sacked. I mean, it's the strangest thing. Like I don't understand it. It's like they can't run block and pass. Like, how you fake run blocking, but you're pass blocking, right? Mm-hmm. To tell the linebackers that it's a run. That's the whole point, right? Because the linebackers are keying on the offensive line. Well, on the guards, basically. Most time it's the guards that the linebackers key on. It just seems that we have majority of our sacks are on that play action pass, and they lose 10 yards.
Maybe the defenses can see what they're going to do when they see it. They recognize it from their film studies. But I want to address this Jack got screwed on his pick 6 comment. I would agree that he did, but I think it was a blessing in disguise because if the touchdown holds, there's way too much time on the clock for Minnesota to come down and try to tie the score. And so I'm not agreeing with the call because I guess the rules are the rules as they explained, and you got to follow the rules. But I think it set Iowa up in a great field position. It one of the best passes of the day from Petrus to Lachey that was a great pass to set us up in where we weren't quite first and goal at that time, but we still could make a goal, first and goal, if we wanted to down there. And that was one of the best passes of the day, and so it all worked out. We won, and we didn't give Minnesota enough time to do much with trying to get down to get 3 points, and so.
Yeah, but I wasn't too worried about it anyway. Like you said, you just contradicted yourself. Because you said that Minnesota wouldn't be able to pass on Iowa anyway. And that would have been a situation where they had to pass, and I don't know how you're sure they get a first down passing the ball. Right?
Well, that's true. That's true. But I was thinking more in the terms like they had enough time to run the ball a few times.
No, I get what you were saying. 100%. Right. It turned out to be a good thing because Iowa executed it. Right.
Right.
But at the time, you were just hoping for the execution to be there.
Yeah, right. That's true. I mean, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, in my opinion. But yes, he got screwed. The ump there, I don't know why. I mean, for a couple of officials that wanted to get this game over with and go home into the warmness of their cars and stuff.
Yeah,
he delayed that part by throwing down the flag.
Yeah, right. The one time he blew the whistle and decided that there was something that happened where the play wasn't real. It was that time when that would have clinched the game.
I think it's just one of those cases where, I said at the time when Spencer threw the pass to Lachey, I said, you know what, the ball doesn't lie. right? So the ball knows the truth, and it was a great time for Brian to make that call. It was really well executed, and I really feel like Brian is coming into his own as far as these play callings and again, you can't go back in time and change things, but my Lord, the level at which we're playing offense in November, if you guys aren't seeing the improvement, the market improvement in execution, right? Spencer's hitting the Maples. He's doing the things that we talked about back in August. We said if Spencer can just be average, if he could just be okay, well, that's what you're seeing now.
He's not missing the wide open receivers that are short like he was at the beginning of the year.
Right.
He's hitting all those dig routes. He's hitting the seam route, right? He misses some that are 25 yards or longer downfield, right?
Those are tough.
But now he's hitting all the ones. If he was hitting all year, Iowa would probably only have one loss, maybe two, because of Michigan, Ohio State. If he hit those, like I did a lot of videos on the Illinois game, all those wide open receivers he missed, he isn't missing those anymore. He isn't missing them at all. I'm talking about the short, makeable high school routes, right? Like when the receiver just does a simple out route and he just, remember how he would just, and the receiver would look at him like, what the hell? Like nobody around him. He's not doing that stuff anymore.
And he's even making good decisions when nobody's open, right? We've seen some of those plays where he's on the move, and it's that layers passing routes. First guy singer, they're all covered up, so he's not forcing the ball into bad situations.
Yep. Petrus. This kind of tells you that if we could have just flip-flopped Stanley and Petrus around, Iowa maybe would have a Big Ten championship, right? Because of Petrus' struggles. But, he could be the first quarterback to go back-to-back in the West. That says a lot about – that says a lot about Iowa's defense the last 2 years. But it's just awesome.
It would also be that this would only be our third Big Ten West championship.
Keep in mind too. We
only been the third.
We want to bag on Spencer and Brian. Go back to those early games. There was no Ragaini, right? He was out. Oh, yeah. There was no Johnson. There was no. We were trotting Laporta out there at wide receiver, not because of some strategy, but because he was like one of the only healthy bodies we could put outside as to play the position.
Yeah, right. Breck was gone too.
Right. Vines was out.
How many West titles does Wisconsin have? Anybody know?
Like 13.
No, it hasn't been around that long.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just making stuff up. He's just throwing stuff out there.
I think they have like 5.
Okay, here's the deal. Right now,
has 2 or 3. I think Wisconsin has like 5.
And we'll have 3.
And we would have 3.
Yeah, Northwestern has just 2.
Yeah.
Like I said, Iowa has 2. Wisconsin owns the rest since they became the West.
Right.
When they were Legions and Legends and everything, Nebraska had 1. Had 1 on there. Where did I want to go with this? Sorry. I wanted to ask Jason, maybe Paul, you understand too, but why are we running Gavin Williams and LaShawn Williams in the fourth quarter so much? And we didn't have Johnson at all. They didn't trot him out there at all to run the ball in fourth quarter. Who's typically our best? Who typically is our best running back right now?
Well, that was a question I actually had as well, thinking, and I haven't heard back from anybody. People were I haven't heard any concrete.
Okay.
I heard he was on the sidelines holding his helmet. But nobody knows anything about why he didn't get in the game. Like, did he have a tweaked ankle? Something. I was actually going to ask Paul to ask Coach that. if he does the next show. Because me, if you're not good enough, I mean, I don't care if you're not hitting the hole or whatever. I'm going to replace you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Iowa don't do that on the offensive side of the ball. Parker does it, and Parker does it and doesn't even think twice about it. But I don't know why Gavin is playing right now. Like on that 3rd and 20, there was a huge hole to the left. He could have gained 10 yards or so and would have been at field goal range, which was the point of the call. Where they were doing this, but they were giving it to LaShawn, and he was doing something with it on 3rd down. That's really how he would make most of his points. Right. I don't know why Gavin is getting the ball when even last week, our leading rusher with 8 carries was Caden, and he averaged like 5.6 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, none of it, I don't know. It's a question that I want Paul to ask Coach if he watches the show. Because I'm curious about, because maybe back then, because they did the same thing to Tavian Banks with Cedric Shaw. I believe there was one game where Cedric Shaw had like 40 carries, where you had Tavian Banks as his backup. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm being biased. I named my son after Tavian. So, I mean, Tavian was my favorite running back. But I'm just curious why that is. They keep going back to Gavin, and he is literally – there's nothing that says that he's better than Caden or LaShawn.
Right. I mean, he's not picking up any productive yards. Even when they throw – I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Throw to him out of the backfield, he's still not being productive.
Well, yeah, he dropped that one. Remember that? That would have been a long run game. He dropped that one swing pass. No, but I don't mind him out there in the 5 wide. Let him go out there in 5 wide, run routes with them, because they do that. They have Gavin in the game when they want to throw the 5 wide out there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know why you would give him the ball, other than if the other 2 running backs are tired. That's my point. So I get what you're saying. And I want to know the answer to that too. I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, I'd like to know. I mean, did he get injured and we don't know about it?
Nobody knows.
Did he make somebody angry and they just said, take your helmet off, you're not going in the rest of the game, or or something like that, or I don't know. But the thing that bothers me is the Iowa media didn't even ask Kirk about it. That would have been one of my first questions is like, Coach, why wasn't Johnson playing in the 4th quarter? Your best running back?
So I think this was real simple, right? Ibrahim had fumbled and Iowa recovered the ball. And I think Kirk and Brian said, look, they just have a higher trust factor with with those guys, with Williams, that they are going to not give away the football. And so I think it was just as simple of we may not get the production out of those guys that we would, but they feel more secure that we're, that we won't have a fumble or a turnover. That's my guess.
That was the whole point of running on 3rd and 20.
Right.
You didn't want a fumble. You didn't want a turnover at all. You were giving yourself a chance because the defense knows you're going to pass the ball on 3rd and 20, right? They're protecting the first down.
Right.
But to me, it doesn't make any sense to give it to a guy it's not going to even pick you up 5 yards unless the hole is open right in front of him, right? On that play, there was even a wham block. You're going to get me going. Like, I watched that play like 20 times just to see what he saw. I mean, there was even a wham block from the tight end coming across who hit the defensive end here to the left. Huge hole to the left. He runs it right into traffic. Like, he literally just ran into his own line. If there was a wham block coming across, that means there had to be something in the play call, the design of the play, that told Gavin that their hole could be to the left, right? That's the whole point of the tight end coming across and to give him that hold, and he doesn't take it. Like, I don't understand. I really don't.
Speaking of wham blocks, our pre-snap motion returned this week.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Not as much as it was against Purdue.
No.
Not as far as changing formations.
Right.
Like, I should do that play when against Purdue. Like, they were using their fullback and tight end just to change formations.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're using a lot of that as well, but mostly it's the fly sweep motions, stuff like that, which I wish they'd give it to the guy once in a while. Eventually they're just going to look at it and go, well, they're not giving him the ball.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of the pre-snap motion, Paul, you posed that question to Don Patterson when you called into Corey Brada's show the other night, and you'd like to explain to people what Coach Patterson told you, because I thought his explanation seemed pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I definitely think if you guys are interested in a fantastic show, check out that Hawkeye of the Storm Corey show. He's a huge Brian Ferentz supporter. When I posted the question, his face lit up.
I was so wondering where you were going with this.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Corey is in Iowa City right now trying to figure out a way how we can, sign Brian to a long-term deal. So
I'm going to send this to Corey today. Should I?
Yeah, heck, do it. The dude is just always wrong, but he does have. He's just a media guy, right? So he gets Fran on his show. He gets Coach Patterson on his show.
Right.
But he is wrong so much. I mean, it took Iowa to beat Purdue and Wisconsin to get him to change his mind that, Iowa might beat Minnesota. After he was all negative against Purdue and Wisconsin, there's just no way that they're going to beat Purdue. I don't see how they could beat Purdue. I mean, I just don't see it. I don't see it.
He finally got called out on it on his show live, and he took the heat like a man. So I was impressed. He didn't make excuses.
Well,
now, to get back to the question at hand, though, right? Yeah. So as far as what Coach Patterson said in regards to the pre-snap motion, it's a lot of kind of what we have been talking about on here with Coach Hack, right? So the big difference between Wisconsin and the other teams that we've been playing is the even man and odd man fronts, the 3 down linemen, 4 down linemen. And with Wisconsin running the 3 down linemen and then the 4 linebackers, they're basically in what Iowa used to run when Hayden Fry was here, was almost like a 5-2 alignment. And or some people might call that like a pair defense. I do.
Yeah, 6-2. They ran the 6-2.
Oh, yeah. 6-2. Okay. But you've got the outside linebackers playing on the line of scrimmage and standing up and the 2-point stance versus, anyway, so as we're running a lot of the jet sweep motions and things like that, basically it wouldn't be as effective doing it. At least that's what they think. So that's why you didn't see a lot of the pre-snap stuff. That really wasn't what I was talking about. What I was trying to ask about so much with the jet sweep motion is what we talk about, the changing of the formations and the strength of the formations, things like that. Coach Patterson didn't really answer that part of the question, but just so much of why we don't do a lot of pre-snap movement in general against Wisconsin is the way that they line up defensively. They don't think that there's an advantage there.
Yeah. Well, and he's right. He was right about because they're standing up, right? Those outside guys. So all they got to do is keep their butts outside and turn their hips and push the tackles aside. It'd be so easy for them just to jump out to get the fly sweep, right? Their first motion would be just to step out, and if the fly sweep gets the ball. So, yeah, we kind of talk about it in a little bit more detail than Coach did, but I mean that what he said was obvious on the fly sweeps. I was wanting to know more about like what you were asking, but I mean, because I describe it, but I thought he could describe it better than me since he was, an actual OC for Iowa.
Right.
But I don't think back in his day they didn't do a whole lot of that, so they had the stand-up tight ends, but.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't quite understand what you were talking about because in his mind, maybe he doesn't know exactly what the moving your formation, literally changing your formation with motion, right? So
and I have a question for you, Coach, that because they did bring this up in the broadcast for Minnesota and their ability to run the football a little bit. The splits, the splits for the offensive line.
Yeah.
Are we making it harder on ourselves to run the football by having smaller splits? So it's harder to create running lanes, but at the same time, it's harder to pass block if you have bigger splits, right? Because now you're spread out a little bit, and so is that kind of the pros and cons of bigger splits?
I don't see any cons in bigger splits.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just talk about me for a second. And like the air raid offense, your linemen are literally 2 yards apart, right? All the way across. You could still pass block, but you create passing lanes. The whole reason to have them spread out is to create passing lanes, but you could still pass block because the defense isn't going to line up right in that gap because it sets them up, right? Because then you can run plays off them being in certain gaps. They're going to line up either inside eye or outside eye. But, yes, what Minnesota does is great. But that gap blocking, that gap scheme, and moving your line, but it tells the defense, well, I think it might be here, right? But it creates blocking angles. And if the defense doesn't adjust in time, because remember, the play clock is only 30 seconds. You get to the line of scrimmage with 15 seconds. The defense has to pick up on everything right away, right? So what Minnesota was doing, they were telling you what they were doing by how their offensive line lines up and stuff, and you knew it. They were telling it by their play calls. They didn't do – they maybe ran 10 plays all night, right? It was nuts. But, no, I love it. I wish Iowa would do more of it. I think there's certain times for Iowa's scheme, and it's the quarterback sneak, right? In my opinion, the only reason you would do Iowa's style of offensive line, where I think they're probably a foot apart, maybe. Would you say there might be about a foot apart? I think that's what they are. I don't think it's even 2 feet, let alone 2 yards. I think they're about a foot apart. But that scheme, running straight ahead, yeah. But then we try running zone blocking off that scheme as well. So, the athletes, and that's one of the big reasons why, have you noticed zone runs work for other teams? That's because they're spread out a little bit, and it creates more of that. What was it, a touchdown run? Minnesota ran a zone, if you remember, and then Mo cut it all the way back after the whole defense flowed, right? It was like this, and then Mo cuts it back because Seth Benson overran it. So, and it's because they ran the zone, but their line was spread out a little bit, so they had bigger gaps. It creates running lanes just like it creates passing lanes in the air raid offense. Like Minnesota's not like the air raid. The air raid, you're like 2 yards apart. Watch a Mississippi State game. The offensive linemen are spread apart. Where Minnesota, if you notice, they're not the whole line wasn't spread apart, but certain guys were spread apart. Did you see that? Like when he showed it, how the guard was like probably the whole yard or more away from the center on that one counter play they ran. So they were setting up. They were telling you what they were doing, but they countered it. So they left that hole there. They blocked, but then they countered with the guard, the off guard, coming across as well.
It's a shame we can't get our hands on the all 22 tape because I'm curious if this was maybe a wrinkle Minnesota put in to go against our defense, for the game, or if this is something that, that they've been doing all year. And, I don't know.
I'm going to say they've been doing it all year. That's this guy's scheme.
Okay.
Yeah, the OC, because he's back. This is his, he was gone for a year, and Minnesota was absolutely terrible on offense when he was gone, and he's back, and now they're back to being good. However, they have Mo this year, so I guess I can't say that. Last year they lost Mo in the first game of the season. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting for that, but I'm going to say that's their style, right? I really, most offensive lines, as much as I love Brian, you guys know, I love the coaching staff.
You and Corey.
There are things that they are still 2000-ish, right? And that's with the offensive line. The defenses are too fast for zone blocking with the way Iowa does it, right? Unless the defense literally makes a mistake. And I just go back to the one time on the very first run of Tower Goodson last year against Indiana. The defensive end, or maybe it was the corner defensive back, made a mistake and just came inside, and Laporta just turns him inside, and Goodson's off to the races, right? There was nothing Iowa did. They ran a simple stretch right, but the defensive end made a mistake. So, I mean, there are things that do bother me about Iowa's offense, and it's the offensive line, not the play calling. I mean, when you see wide open receivers, it's not the play calling, right? There are things the quarterback can do, but on their zone stretch running game, there is some things they should adjust. I mean, I'm just going to say that because I know I don't like being negative on the coaches at all. I hate it, but there are things like that, and I also believe that's a big reason why our last offensive line coach left. He wasn't thrilled. He left to go work for his friend as well at Wyoming, right? To be the OC. He's the offensive Barnett. No, not Barnett. What was the last one's name? He's the offensive coordinator for Wyoming with Craig Bowl.
I don't even remember now.
I don't remember his name either, but I do remember going to Wyoming.
Good Lord, we are bad fans. But anyway.
I'm 66 years old. I'm entitled to forget.
I'm old, too. Look at me.
You're 40. Both of you are 40.
Hey, I'm a man. I'm 40. But he didn't like Iowa's zone scheme at all. Like, he wants to run gap, and that's what they run at Wyoming. So there are things with our offensive line where it's more than just talent. But right now, it's more about communication. As they proved, they blocked pretty good against Minnesota, right? Pass blocked really well. I think he was only sacked once, right?
Yeah. Hey, we're on a short week here, so we're going to be back on Wednesday, right, to do our our prediction for the Iowa-Nebraska game. Well, for this week's picks and everything. We're getting close to an hour here. Should we talk about our picks from this week?
After I tell Jared that I want Michigan to win, I'm not going to say Ohio State. I'm going to say Michigan. I don't even care. Michigan's going to win. I'm putting that out there in the universe.
All right, there we go. I want Michigan to win too because I feel like they're the most beatable team. But that's like getting the cart before the horse. Okay. All right, guys, ready? For the picks. All right. Amazing week by everybody.
Oh boy.
Paul, you went 5-1. Your only loss was you picked the Cowboys instead of the Sooners.
Oh yeah, we both did that.
Yep. Jason, you went 4-2. You lost this. Yes. You lost the Sooners, and you picked Utah over Oregon.
Oh, I did. You're right. Damn it.
Okay. Paul's the only one to pick Oregon.
Quack, quack, Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Our
guest picker went 4-2. He lost UCLA and Utah. I went 5-1. I only lost coming at the Utah game to Oregon. Okay, so you got a 2-game lead, buddy, Jason. 20-4 with one more week to go. 18-6 for myself, 17-7 for Paul. It'd be interesting if I had all the stats where we really stood.
I'd be ahead by 10, but I see you're
you'd be ahead by probably by a couple of more. Okay,
especially over me.
Yeah, Paul's record would be closer to 500.
Well, you know what? I'm like Iowa and the Iowa. I'm playing
making a comeback
here in November. You know, I've gotten better as the season went on. All those cliches. Yes, I am Kirk and Brian Ferentz right now.
Right.
I'm on a roll.
I want to mention before we leave the show, the Iowa men do have a game against Omaha, which I believe is the University.
Omaha.
At Omaha.
It's UNO.
Yeah.
It's Nebraska and Omaha. Yeah, they're playing in Iowa City today.
Peyton Manning's favorite team.
My wife got her bachelor's degree from there. Or no, her master's degree from there. That's why I'm stuck here.
Yeah, this is the last, probably I call the last tune-up game before we start getting to that crazy stretch with Clemson and Duke and Iowa State. You know, that's a crazy stretch of games coming up. The Lady Hawkeyes struggled to win yesterday against Belmont. I'm not sure what's going on with the Lady Hawkeyes. Yesterday, they only won 73-62, but that score actually makes the game look more wider than it really was. It was actually a lot closer game. It hung around 5-6 points most of the game.
Is Caitlin Clark out? Did she play at all?
No, she played and she dominated. 10 for 18 for 33 points.
Oh. She was on fire. She
her
had
sidekick. What's that?
I was just going to say she had a spread in the game where she scored 10 straight points. Mm-hmm. She hit, I want to say she hit 2 threes and 2 twos. Like she had a steal. It was like she just took over the game. It was like 10 points. And like
all in the 41-second period. 41 seconds it took her to do that.
41 seconds.
But anyway, because Monica Cazano, I can never say her name right, only went 4 for 7 with 9 points. She did pull down 10 boards. She struggled getting her shot off. You can see that her shooting percentages was not too bad, but she just didn't get many shots off because they were double teaming her. And they had this girl who was number 3 who just went after Monica a lot and was just doubling down. There for a while, the refs were totally against the Hawkeyes, but that flipped later where it went the other way.
Yeah, Caitlin took a punch to the face. She had a mark on her nose.
Dang,
she did.
Such a pretty face too.
And after they were joking about Kate Martin giving her mask, and she's like, "No, I'm not wearing a dang mask. My nose is fine."
Yeah. They and anyway, so that's where the Hawkeye ladies are at. Oh, I did want to mention that I'm thinking Tony Perkins has really stepped up his game. I was looking at his stats for the season. He's got 16 assists on 3 turnovers, and he's averaging 13.3 points a game. This guy has really stepped it up and I remember he started stepping it up at the end of the season last year. And this guy, you know, I think we found ourselves a point guard because he likes to come off the dribble and he's not afraid to go off the dribble and go to the hoop where, you know, we didn't get J-Bo to do that too much, if at all.
It's two different kinds of point guard.
Yeah,
I know. I understand that, but it's the first time in 6 years we had a point guard that could take somebody off the dribble.
6 years. Different mindsets.
I know. Okay. I don't have anything else unless you guys got something you want to add.
Are we gonna do? Oh no, we'll do our. Never mind. We're good. No, I'm good.
All right. Just a reminder, but we brought it up a minute ago. Our next show this week, because of the short week, because of Thanksgiving, Iowa playing on Friday, we will be back on Wednesday to do this all over again. We'll try to be better on Wednesday than we were today. But
Terry's thing across there. You should probably do another one.
Oh,
Yeah. Thanks for the reminder, dude.
Just
That's why we work together. That's why we work together.
Yeah.
I just don't want Terry mad at us. That's one woman you don't want mad at him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I love animals. Hello.
Hello.
I love animals, granddaughter.
Yeah.
If you love animals, what you'll really love is Scentsy. These things will make your house smell good, even if you have animals in the home. Nobody likes that kitty litter smell. You know, the dog pissing in the corner. You don't want that, right? So what you got to do is visit Terry's Scentsy page there. The link's on the screen. Get you some wax and a warmer. I guarantee you the ladies in your life probably already have these things. But they melt down. They're all natural. They're good for the environment, right? The pets can even eat the stuff, and it won't hurt them any. So check it out. Check out Terry's Scentsy page. We love animals here on our show, and check it out. Go Hawks!
Go Hawks!
All right.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry. Bye, granddaughter. I'll see you soon.
Bye, Jared.
She lives next door. Bye.